Games nowadays look amazing, which I guess explains why my PC has smoking problems, but they can always look better. Now, not in the way you think. Of course, they can release some new technology that makes lighting look more realistic than it ever has, but as we all know, it will either only be available on $2,000 GPUs or be horribly optimized to the point that people will rarely use it. Kind of like how ray tracing is. Today, I'm going to be showing you guys how to make games like Cyberpunk 2077, Stalker, and Sons of the Forest look very close to the real world for completely free. So, without further ado, let's begin. Now, the application for this video is Reshade. This application basically works like a mod. You connect Reshade's files to your game's files, and then you can add hundreds of video filters to the game in real time. Using a good combination of certain filters can make your game look truly amazing. So first, let's install it. Okay, now to install Reshade, all you need to do is go to this website, which will be in the description, and then simply click download, and it should take you all the way down here to download Reshade 6.6.1. Once you have this installed, open up the only exe file that it will give, and then you should see this. Now, it should detect a decent bit of your games on your PC, but some just won't show up. Now, for this video, I'll be doing Sons of the Forest and Dying Light. So I'll be starting first with Sons of the Forest. So I have the exe file here. You'll have to get the exe file for whatever game you're doing and basically put it here. And once you do that, click next, and then you'll want to find what the game is running on. So of course, my game, or most games nowadays, are running on DirectX and most likely DirectX 12, but this is compatible for 10, 11, and 12. So click on that one and then go to next. And then you have all of these different effects. So you can honestly just pick the first two, the standard effects, or if you want to have a wide range of possible effects that you can add to your game, you might want to just check all of them. So for instance, I can go uncheck all and then check all. And yeah, so this will take a minute to load all of them, especially when you first open up the Reshade or your game once this is installed. And yeah, so the very first time it will take a minute, but once you have everything added and you know exactly what effects work best for your game, I will show you guys how to optimize it so that you don't load all of these effects every single time you open your game. So once you have this, simply click next.
2 seconds later.
And there we go. Now Reshade is successfully installed to Sons of the Forest, and now you just simply open your game and you should see it. So let's go get to that. Now I open Sons of the Forest, and in a few seconds you will see that it is loading the effects at the very start. Now this is not taking as long as it would because I've already opened the game once, but yeah, as you can see, it's still struggling decently. Yeah, there we go, and it is done. There we go, finally. Now, as you can see, it says Reshade is now installed successfully. Press home to start the tutorial. Now, of course, I already know how to do this, so I will click home and I'll just skip it, but you can go through it because you may not know how to set this up. Now skip tutorial, and you can see that there are actually hundreds of effects that you can add to your game. Now I'm going to go ahead and get into the actual game so I can show you guys this in real time.
5 minutes later.
Okay, now the game is open, and already this game looks amazing, but that's not the subject of this video. Let's go ahead and click home, and you can see that again they're still there, and I can pretty much enable anything. So let me click home once more, and let me just find a good place to just sit and have a static, or not really static, but have a good screen that will really show how this looks. Let's try this right here. So if I was to click home, and then let's say I want to do adaptive color grading, you can see that this basically adds color grading that is adaptive, as the name says. But this means that as you're moving, the color grading should adapt to how the game looks. Now, to be honest, this doesn't look good, so let me find something different. Let's say adaptive tone mapper. Whoa, okay, see, that is a really good example of how this can look. Of course, a lot of these can actually be adjusted, so I'm assuming the intensity is fairly high, or it's set to 1, but we can turn it down. So if I was to go to home and I had to go down here, I can actually adjust how much it's doing it. So it's at 1 currently. I can turn this down so that it's about here. So now this is adding tone mapping in a adaptive way. So no matter where I'm looking, it'll always find the perfect tone mapping for that place. So I'm assuming if I was to go somewhere dark, or if this map was to be dark, it would tone map to fit that, I guess. But now we have that. Let's see, I can also add HDR so the game is darker. But yeah, there are plenty of things that you can do here. So let's say I wanted chromatic aberration here. There we go. There are hundreds of them, so of course I won't be able to find the best ones, and there are plenty of already made presets that people have already configured for games like this. If you were to go on Nexus Mods, you could actually find presets that have found the best filters or effects for certain games. So there are just hundreds. Of course, I won't be able to find the perfect ones just right now, but as you can see, I have about 3 of them added currently, and it's not horrible. Of course, it's way too bright to play, but of course, this is just testing. So you can spend about an hour, or maybe not an hour, maybe 20 minutes, just looking around Reshade just to see if you can find anything that works for you. Okay, now before I go over how to actually set up Reshade so that it only loads the effects that you have installed, let's go over to Dying Light and see what I can set up to actually make that game look better. Okay, now we are on Dying Light the Beast, which is also a visually stunning game. But let's go ahead and configure Reshade to see how much better we can make it look. So I'll go ahead and click home. Of course, it's saying that I need to do the tutorial because this is a new game, but I don't need to. Skip tutorial, and then we have again hundreds of these effects. So let's go ahead and add adaptive color weighting again. This, and again, it doesn't look that good, but adaptive tone mapper will make it look very bright, but again, I don't know if this is realistic, so maybe not to use that. And then we also have advanced auto HDR. That just makes the game look unbearably dark, so maybe not that. But just keep looking through these. Ambient light, that actually looks really good. So if I click home, this, I don't know, this looks really good. I'm not sure what it's changing, but apparently it changed something. So as you can see here, go ahead and disable ambient light, and it's definitely changing something. It looks like it's adding some type of orange hue to the screen, but it actually looks really good compared to how the game looks before. But I can also add bloom and lens flare, so let's see if this actually works. If I look towards the sun, there is indeed lens flare. Let's see if that is already in the game though. So let me disable it. Okay, so actually the yellow lens flare that I thought was lens flare is actually built into the game. So the lens flare is actually around here. You can see it when I disable it, actually adds lens flare, which is actually cool. So let me see, blooming HDR. You know what? That actually looks really good too. So yeah, there are lots of different effects, and of course I'm not picking the best ones, and I'm sure there are a lot of ones on Nexus Mods that do it way better than I have, but just with the effects that I have chosen, this game already looks, at least in my opinion, a lot better. So yeah, you should definitely use Reshade. Now let me show you guys the useful settings that are actually built into Reshade. Now first, you can click active to top, and this will basically bring every single effect that you have enabled to the very top so that you can disable and enable them however you want without having to look around and find all of the effects that you enable. Now not only that, if you go to settings and then go to load only enabled effects, it takes a minute to load all effects. Now if you only have it load only enabled effects, it will literally take maybe a second or two to enable them. Now of course I only have 3, so that might take a second and I wouldn't even notice that it did it, but if you have a lot more, it may take longer. But you want to actually enable this because load only enabled effects would actually only load the enabled effects. Now of course you can see here force load all effects. This is if you want to reconfigure things, but of course when you restart the game and you reopen it, it will only load these 3 or however many that you have enabled. And other than that, you can also go to settings and you can go to effect toggle key. This basically allows you to toggle all of the effects at once, just so you can see the actual difference. So if I was to set this to, let's say, insert, and then I click home, you can see that as I'm clicking insert, I click it now, this is the normal game, and then I click insert again, this is Reshade. So this actually allows you to see the noticeable difference between using Reshade and not using Reshade. So yeah, that is really cool. I'm sure there are plenty of other settings that maybe I'm not going over in this video, but if you guys are aware of any other settings that I didn't touch on, go ahead and put those in the comments, because I'm sure there are people that want to know more about this application. So yeah, that is Reshade. Of course, you do not need to use this if you don't find this cool or you feel like this makes your game look worse, but all in all, this software is really cool to me, and it can make certain games look completely different for completely free. Thank you guys for watching. If you found this video helpful, please make sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one.